All right, what's going on, everyone? This is Drew from Stable Minded. We are here at ETH Denver with Ian for our Stable Spotlight. How we doing?
Doing well, guys. It's a beautiful sunny day in Denver. Like, what more? We're talking stablecoins. Like, I don't know how
Life
it
is
could
good.
be better. Yeah.
Life is good. The shades are on. We're out
Yes,
here.
yes.
It was supposed to be colder today, so we're
This is
happy
beautiful.
about that.
Yeah,
Give
100%.
us a quick elevator pitch. I meet you at an event. How are you describing what you're doing?
Yeah, so at Joltz, we're building the dev tooling and infrastructure for stablecoins on Bitcoin. Tether just made a huge announcement a couple weeks back that USDT would be returning to the OG mother chain as what's called a Taproot asset. And so that Taproot asset protocol, we build the kind of tooling and infrastructure to make that accessible for developers and end users as well.
It's really exciting. My whole journey, I think for a lot of people too, can relate with this, is Bitcoin is where it all began. And it's been an interesting evolution, what feels like in some ways away from that originally, as I've gotten more into stablecoins. So it's really exciting to hear that this is a focus for you, and it's like stablecoins on Bitcoin. Like I get really excited. What does that practically look like, and how does that maybe differ from stablecoins on Ethereum or Solana? Like, what does that difference look like?
Yeah, so I mean, there's part of the big reason that stablecoins obviously started on Bitcoin, but quickly kind of migrated to other networks was the settlement times, largely with Bitcoin. And so the magical part of Taproot assets is you can mint these assets natively on chain on Bitcoin, and then you can lift them into the Lightning Network. So this layer 2 on top of Bitcoin, where you have instant payment settlement, like that levels the playing field technologically when you think about Tron, when you think about Solana, and some of the kind of cost and speed elements that are so important for end users. That being said, the Lightning Network is a fundamentally different network architecture than these other blockchains, and in some ways that's a challenge. There have been a lot of UX pain points, particularly for self-custodial usage of the Lightning Network over time. That has had to be something we've kind of worked through. At the same time, the upside is with this payment channel-based structure, you don't need global consensus, so you have a pretty much limitless scalability. And so when I think about the big question of like, how do we scale global stablecoin payments by another 1,000x, 10,000x, which is probably what's necessary from where we are today to supporting kind of the full global economy, something like the Lightning Network, I think, offers a really compelling answer to that scalability question.
You're firing me up.
It's jazz.
So to summarize that a little bit, the problem historically has been maybe some of the developer tooling or wallet technology. With the Ethereum community in recent years, there's been, I think, just a lot of innovation going on. A lot of companies who are building like ancillary tooling to make the user experience easy, to make a lot of companies that are building today stablecoin focused infrastructure. You need to piece together still a lot of different things to make an application come to life. And so is it essentially that the Lightning and the layer 2 of that is getting to a point where there's enough of that there so that these types of applications can look and feel and operate as you would want to?
Yeah, I think you summarized it well. I mean, it's taken the protocols themselves to kind of harden, be battle tested, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, as you said, like it's kind of a standard notion that, hey, a new protocol in some other ecosystem, of course you're going to have SDKs. Of course you're going to have kind of wallet as a service. Of course you're going to have these different pieces. And I do think historically with Bitcoin, you just haven't seen as much of that. So now that we've sort of matured at the protocol level in terms of Lightning, and Taproot assets is still quite fresh, but is really just an extension of the Taproot upgrade to Bitcoin that we got back in 2021. Now that those things have really matured, it's the time for tooling like what we're building at Joltz to actually make that accessible, because developers are going to have two choices, as they always do. Do you want to build everything in-house and spend the thousands of hours kind of mucking around with the Lightning Network protocols, Taproot asset protocols, or you could use some sort of tooling like Joltz to do that with a couple lines of code.
What is a common misconception about building on Lightning that people have?
Man, how much time do we have?
30 seconds.
Self-custodial Lightning is actually possible. And we are not destined for a solely custodial Lightning future. Although, obviously, there will be both.
What would be, in your opinion, self-custodial versus custodial use cases. Like, what, in your view, should be self-custodial versus custodial? Do you have any opinions there?
Yeah, I mean, ideally we can create a user experience that's nice enough so that any use case can be, self-custodial. I think particularly when we start to talk about, we've had a lot of inbound interest from borrowing and lending platforms. When you're talking about that type of use case, I think self-custodial technology is, particularly important. When you're talking about maybe remittances and kind of higher payment values, I think that's another area in which, right, if you're kind of, just toying around with, a few bucks, you're doing some micro payments on Lightning, you're tipping people on Nostr or whatever it is, like, custodial is probably fine, but I think the second that you start extending to some of these other use cases, self-custodial is really important.
Last question for you. Do you see an application like a lending platform or something? Is that something that you think the Lightning Network will be complementary to these other systems, or is that sort of an all or nothing, black or white difference that you think builders should have an opinion on?
Yeah, I think complementary for sure. I mean, we definitely still don't have the kind of rich expressiveness that you do get in maybe an EVM sort of environment. And so the way I see Lightning is really excelling from like a payments, scalability, and kind of connectivity, right? Lightning is emerging as this common language that kind of stitches together all these, like, it's Bitcoin season 2, right? You have all these like Bitcoin L2s now springing up, which may or may not have actual connections to Bitcoin, but whatever, we'll put that to the side. But Lightning is this really interesting connective tissue. And so I think you're going to see all sorts of bridges from Lightning. In fact, there's already companies working on bridges from Lightning to, EVM chains. And so Lightning, I just think, is going to be this instantly settlable kind of connective tissue to other ecosystems that are no doubt going to provide important programmability when you talk about some of these other use cases.
Awesome. Well, that was the spotlight. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Where can people find you?
You can follow us along on X at Joltz_BTC. You can follow me if you want, Ian_Major. And you can check out our website, joltz.app. We've currently got an early access form for our SDK. You can download the Joltz wallet, which is really a demonstration of kind of what can be built with the SDK. So people are, playing around, sending each other value on X. It's cool to see. But yeah, all things come back to Bitcoin. Let's see.
Boom. There you have it.